Well, I love being here. Howie would love being here, wouldn't he? Isn't this terrific? And see all the people whose lives he has influenced, and he certainly helped shape my life. I felt very lucky to have been his student. He was a very creative, magical teacher who taught us how to think for ourselves, to analyze, to question what we read, to speak truth to power, and he was just engaging in every way. He and I arrived at Spelman College in 1956 as freshmen. He was straight out of Columbia. He came down to chair the social science and history department, and I came from my little rural, black, segregated town in South Carolina. But I've always felt that that was just an absolutely almost ordained moment, and I don't know what I would have done. Beverly, Tatum, I see our president here, I don't think I would have survived at Spelman in the 50s, the late 50s, without Howie. But he was extraordinary, and he didn't just teach, he lived what he taught, and he gave us opportunities to read our history and to go through our discussions, but then to go to our first interracial discussions down at the YWCA. He made sure that we were able to have opportunities to challenge segregation, whether it was in the public libraries or it was in Atlanta theaters or movies, or I enjoyed our annual troop to the Georgia State Legislature, where we would sit in the whites only gallery with Howie and stop the entire proceedings of this Georgia legislature, who would demand that those people be moved, and we would lumber very slowly as we would stand up and exit, looking forward to coming back the next year. He was a real mensch. He made us feel empowered. He instilled in us the need to make a difference in the world and to speak truth to power. He was not liked by our administration, and Spelman was a rather staid college at that point. He was not liked by John Silber later, but you know, he was not liked by a lot of administrations. But we students loved him. He was always accessible. We were always free to hang out, and Jeff and Myla and beautiful Roz Zinn came, and they lived behind the infirmary at Spelman, and we hung out there a lot. We felt free to go there and plot our sit-in movements. He encouraged us, even though we knew we'd be highly unpopular. He lived very non-materialistically. I often think back to his beat-up old Chevrolet, and I don't know if Jeff remembers that. But I felt okay about asking to borrow it as we students tried to lay out the places for our sit-ins and to scope out the other demonstrations we were planning. He never tried to tell us what to do. He just helped us feel encouraged and empowered. And when we got weak and a little bit uncourageous, he would, straighten our backs back up. I also just appreciated his great respect for me as a young black girl from a little segregated town. He nominated me to be a Merrill Scholar and to spend a year abroad. And when I got called into the president's office, I was wondering what in the world I had been caught doing, only to find that I had been given a year, which I turned into 15 months, thanks to Howie. But the thing that was most important about it was not just the fellowship and the chance to go abroad. It was one of the best years of my life. He insisted that I not go in the Smith or the Sweetbriar group or in any group. He wanted me to learn that I, as one young woman from the South, could navigate my way around the world. It was the most important year in my life where I could make my own decisions, get up, in fact did, learned I was mature enough to not stay at the Sorbonne for their French civilization course, but to enroll at the University of Geneva for the winter and to stretch my little thin dollars and get to the Soviet Union for the second summer. And I understood that when I came back that I would never, ever, after all that freedom, fit into the segregated role in the life of the South that women and black and young people were expected. And the sit-in movement broke out, and he was there, but he has just irrevocably shaped my life, and I'm profoundly grateful, just as this people's history of the United States has shaped the lives of millions and will shape the lives of millions of young people as they go. Today we're in a very tough time. I think this is one of the most difficult times, Brother Cornel, as you well know and are speaking about, that we faced in so many years. We're about 40 years old. Well, the Children's Fund started out the Poor People's Campaign in 1968 out of Dr. King's call for a Poor People's Campaign. And that time when he called for a Poor People's Campaign, there were 11 million poor children in America. Today there are 15.5 million poor children. And the new poverty data, which we have seen, shows that another million children fell into poverty between 2009 and 2010, and we're waiting tomorrow for the breakdown at the state level. But poverty is growing in this nation that is many, many, many times richer than it was when Howard Zinn was around and Dr. King was calling for that. I have no doubt that if Dr. King were here today, he'd be calling for another Poor People's Campaign and a children's campaign, and that's what we ought to be doing. And I hope we will find our voice. And I hope we will find our courage. The whole premise of the civil rights movement was that our children would have a better life than we had, and our grandchildren, but they're moving backwards. And with the cradle-to-prison pipeline and a black boy having a 1 in 3 chance of going to prison, with 80% of black and Latino children unable to read at grade level in 4th, 8th, or 12th grade, what are you going to do? You're being sentenced to social and economic death. What are we going to do about it? We are on the verge of losing the last 50 to 60 years of progress, and we have got to figure out how we're going to fight back, how we're going to speak truth to power, how we're going to insist that the rich pay their fair share and we stop these wars and invest in our children. So I hope we'll all buy and share that people's history, read it. I hope that we could have these readings on college campuses everywhere so that they can see the extraordinary, marvelous, courageous lives that so many people of descent brought about such unthinkable change. And I hope we will find our voice and new theater in these times. Everything depends on it. And I'm very grateful that this space is here for all of us to come together and to remember what has been done on our behalf and then what we are absolutely obligated and responsible to do for the next generation and to save the soul of this nation. Thank you.